At the conclusion of the campaign, you'll send a final report back to the client. And so, what we had in the earlier lesson, was something like this for the press garnered from having an expert at the Dallas Home and Garden Show. At the end of the campaign, you'll have everything. All of those paid activities that you had, all of those owned activities, all of those earned activities. And you'll include in there how much your expenses were, how many impressions you received, and what was your cost per point or cost per impression on that. Okay, outcome measures. These are big and harder to evaluate. But let's just say that we're trying to create a stop smoking campaign. Those changes in behavior, they're hard to measure, but it can be done. So we can look at cigarette sales. That's one way to determine if there's a change in behavior. We might be able to pull medical information, like maybe from the American Lung Association or something like that. We can measure change in knowledge just by distributing a questionnaire. Might be very expensive, but we can measure that. Change in knowledge, change in belief, same things. We can track purchases. That's a way to look at outcomes. Aided and unaided awareness. So this is something where you could ask, who would you turn to for information about pesticide use? And we look to see if they can name Texas Department of Agriculture. Whereas aided awareness would you turn to Texas Department of Agriculture? Oh, yes, we would. So that's something that's important to measure in certain situations. Did we create partnerships? Did we change policy? Those are big things to measure. Can be costly, but depending on what it is that you're trying to do, it might be the way to go. Other things more for social marketing, how many lives did we save? How many diseases did we prevent? And that's not something that you can get at the surface level. These are things that you have to do with a lot of different ways to go. Questionnaires, some qualitative research, observation, sales data, looking at control groups or doing experiments, going through records and databases, doing hits, hashtags, likes, shares, all of that stuff. These are all ways that you can do that. You can do this before the campaign launches. You can do it during the campaign, post-campaign. Anytime you can do evaluation at any point in the campaign. It can be minimal. So let's just say if we were going to see if a campaign had curbed college students smoking. Well, maybe we would just ask an intern to sit outside one of the academic buildings and count how many people were smoking in January 2020 versus January 2021. That's not terribly expensive, but things like that can become extremely expensive. Evaluation activities should be included in your budget. So, if you have a line of evaluation in your budget, make sure that an expensive evaluation activity in your campaign plan, make sure it's in your budget. Now, I want to point out that in your campaign plan, this is one of those things that I trimmed down for the final project in light of our new situation. So all you have to include is what are you going to use to evaluate the success of the campaign. So we will see how successful this was by counting the number of students who participate in Lubbock County 4-H, something like that. So I'm talking a paragraph. That's all you have to do. So the original campaign plan details that were posted had several other bullets in there as well. Don't worry about that. Revisions to the campaign plan are on Blackboard, and I posted those around the last week of March. So that's all you have to do for your campaign plan. But I want to present this information to you because it will be important as you all get your official jobs and move forward in the AgCom industry. Evaluation is something that kind of proves your worth and shows that you know what you are doing.